Hey there everybody, welcome back to Plat. We're back with Magic the Gathering Arena, and today we're doing something a little different. We're gonna do a pack opening video. This video is not gonna be edited. I'm not sure exactly how long it's gonna be. I'm just gonna start opening packs. And I figured I would do kind of a review as I go through it. As we open packs, I see cards that stand out. I'll kind of give you my opinion on them, tell you what I think about them. And as we start getting more and more duplicates, I'll probably start opening them in times 10. And because 101 packs, it's actually going to be 104 packs. I'm not exactly sure how long that'll take. You do, obviously. You can see the length of the video, but I'm stuck here in current time. I don't have the future sight that you guys have. So that's kind of how we're going to do it. But first, a public service announcement, in case you didn't know. You can come up here to the store, click right up here, redeem code. We're going to type in Play War Spark. Now, there have been some issues with this code, I know. People have been having, if you try to redeem it before, too early, then it wasn't working. But we're going to try it right now. It worked, so go ahead and play War Spark. This video will be up tomorrow morning for me. So this should be 100% working by the time for everybody. There we go. We got 3 more packs. So let us start opening packs, and I'll tell you what I think about the cards, and we'll just kind of go with the flow, Unedited pack opening fun. All right, so let's see what stands out here first. Gideon's Triumph. Target opponent sacrifices a creature at 2 mana instant speed. If you control a Gideon's Planeswalker, which is a very good one in this set, that player sacrifices 2 of those creatures instead. I'm not exactly sure how good this card is, but I really like it. The idea of when 2 mana instant, target player sacrifices a creature that attacked or blocked this turn is pretty good. But that two creatures, that's suddenly, you're getting insane instant speed value for that. Obviously, they have to be attackers, and, so at one point, you just want to be running Settle the Wreckage, but this is a pretty good trick. I do like it. I'm not quite sure if it's constructed viable. Can't attack alone. That's a limited card. Cool. 5 mana, 3/5, 4 mana, can't be blocked this turn. It's a good limited card. Nightmare creature type, not relevant, but really cool. Defiant Strike, 1 mana, draw a card on its own would be terrible, but 1 mana +1/+0, draw a card. If you can get this in the right kind of like Boros deck, I think this could work. If you looked at my Jund Pump Warrior deck from a few days ago, this is obviously off color. But this is the kind of thing where you could be thinking of this with the arcane dude, and this card has, like, battle tricks seem to be pretty good in this set so far. Normally I wouldn't value these very high, but +1/+0 sometimes will get you a trade, and it replaces itself. It'll catch your opponent off guard a lot of the time. I like it. I think it's better than it looks, for sure. Giant Growth, it's a classic. It's fun. It's good in that Jund deck. It's not going to do much outside of that. Really good and limited. We got some wild cards and Bioessence Hydra. All right. 5 mana, 1 green, 1 blue. 4/4 Hydra mutant with trample. Bioessence Hydra enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each loyalty counter on planeswalkers you control. Okay, so this goes in a Super Friends deck, essentially. Whenever 1 or more loyalty counters are put on a planeswalker you control, put that many +1/+1 counters on Hydra. You don't really need it in a Super Friends deck. Even if you have like any of the 4 mana planeswalkers that could come down, probably with like 4 or 5 loyalty. I mean, this is kind of like a 5 mana 9/9, right? 5 mana 10/10. Might be a 5 mana attacking, 11/11. If you're running this with something like, I mean, I could see this being in a deck with something like Rhythm of the Wild to give it haste, to make it good. It can't be countered, and it has haste. But then what do you run it? Like, Domri's pretty good. Not amazing, +1/+0. I'm not sure exactly where this fits yet. It definitely is a big butt. It's got big, fat stats, and it grows at a pretty reasonable rate, and it has trample. So there's definitely a home for it. Because if you put this on the field and they don't have an answer, and you obviously, this card's supposed to be in your deck, so you're definitely going to be getting value out of it. It's going to be bigger than a 4/4. This could absolutely just be an instant game winner. By instant, I mean a game winner the following turn. I like it. It's probably not much of a build around card for me though. But again, we're going to play a lot of decks in this meta, so we'll probably get there. 2 mana, 2/1. Hexproof as long as it's untapped, add 1 mana of any color. Surprisingly good because it does Llanowar, Incubation Druid basically, I guess. It does 1 mana and it's slower than Llanowar Elf, but it basically is always gonna ramp you at least 1 time. Really, it's tough. It needs to be in obviously the right deck. Llanowar Elf on 1 is so good, going instantly 3 drops, but going from 2 drops into 4 drops can be just as powerful, especially when it's probably more consistent with this card. Not completely irrelevant if you play Pelt Collector into this. Pelt Collector does get a counter. Could fit into a Proliferate deck. I do like it. Bond of Insight. Each player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard. Return up to 2 instant or sorcery cards in the graveyard to your hand. So it's an optimistic 4 mana draw 2. Scry 4. Like if you want to be extra generous, it's Scry 4, draw 2. But it's not really that. I guess it'd be more like Surveil 4, draw 2. But even then, it's not really that, because you could whiff, which is not good. If you're using it as a form of card draw, and you have a very control-heavy deck, and your win is to mill the opponent, this gets you a little bit closer there. I'm not exactly sure how I feel about that card. A lot of text, but it doesn't really, it doesn't do what I want. 3 mana, deals 1 damage to our creature. That creature can't block this turn, draw a card. I don't really like it. I do like drawing a card, but 3 mana, if this was at 2 mana, I'd be way more tempted. 3 mana is a lot. You want to be, if you're playing a card that wants this, you're going to be playing things like Chain Whirlers. Like, as a limited, it could be a finisher, right? Because you get to deal 1 damage, maybe kill one of their chump blockers. Or you could use it on a big guy, so you can get your big guy through, and you get to draw a card. It's pretty good limited. Not first pickable or anything, but, you know, you wouldn't mind 1 or 2 of them in the deck, probably. 2 mana, 2/1, 2, add 1 mana of any color. Definitely a combo card of some kind. Mana fixing for limited, some sort of crazy infinite mana card potentially, but at the end of the day, I don't really see wanting this over wanting just a chromatic lens or chromatic lantern. 6 mana, 7/6 worm, big booty guy, I like it. Great art. A bunch of little undead army guys, just fun. No escape. This one's interesting. Counter target creature or planeswalker spell. If the spell was countered this way, exile it instead of put it into the graveyard. Then you get a scry 1. So it's a slightly easier to cast Sinister Sabotage, but it targets creatures or planeswalkers. It doesn't counter non-creature spells. But a lot of times with non-creatures, planeswalker are a lot of those. Like you wanted to counter with Sinister Sabotage, it's nice because it can counter Teferi. It's 100% a great sideboard card, at the very least in control. Main board, though, it's good against, you know, creature-based decks, obviously, and it's even not dead against control. It's a surprisingly good counter. When I first thought, I wasn't impressed, because, you know, you're just thinking of negate, Dovin's Veto. Like, those cards are just better most of the time. But the fact that this does scry 1, it exiles it, is not relevant, and it does have a pretty wide range of targets. I think it's a surprisingly good situational. It's like a tech counter spell, depending on the meta. It could be easily find itself in main boards. But it could also just be like a situational sideboard card, part of the 75. The Sprint, this card's fantastic. You see it in the combo deck. There's a few highly synergistic creatures that really want that haste. +2/+1 is a great combat trick, and you get a scry 1, fix your draw. It's, you know, usually you're putting land to the bottom. Great card.
I have come for
oh, here we go.
And blood.
4 mana, 4 loyalty planeswalker. As long as it's your turn, creatures and planeswalkers you control have lifelink. So this is a life-gaining monster. 4 mana, 4/4 with an Anthem effect of lifelink. At least on when your creatures attack, basically. Deals 1 damage to target player or planeswalker, so you get to ping him in the face to enable Spectacle, which is not irrelevant in black. I think it's irrelevant in white, but Drill Bit, you know, could be run in a deck with this. And Mayhem of Madness or whatever. I think if he gets lifelink, the damage he deals to you gets healed, and the damage he deals to your opponent. So it'd actually be healing you by, I guess it would be 1, because it would negate the one that it dealt the damage, and then it would heal you by 1 more. So it actually makes Spawn of Mayhem heal you once per turn, potentially. Sounds pretty good. And the Spectacle, obviously, it could do that. Return target creature card with converted mana cost X from your graveyard to the battlefield. That creature is a vampire in addition to its other type. So it converts things into vampires, and it's like a really good... This card feels like a pretty fucking bomb. Obviously, this isn't just something you jam into a deck. It doesn't do enough, but man, this card has some hyper synergy in the life gain vampire kind of thing. Even having 4 mana, being able to minus X, -3, or to get like your best 3 drop out, it doesn't die. And it's not, to mention the 1 damage is a +2. Once you +2 once, if this guy doesn't take damage, you could get 2 3 drops from your graveyard to the battlefield. This feels really powerful. I really like this card. It's 100% a great build around card. Like, I still feel like this deck loses to like Esper or Nexus of Fate, right? Because it doesn't matter how much life you have most of the time. It doesn't do that much, but this is a good build around card. I recommend using that so far. I like it. Obviously, limited powerhouse. What do we got? Rawl's Outburst deals 3 damage to any target at 4 mana instant speed. Not impressed. Twice as expensive as a lightning strike right now. But look at the top 2 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand, the other into your graveyard. So it's kind of like you're gonna dig 2 cards deep and put one of it back. So if it's 4 mana instant speed removal, it's weak removal, but it's there. It can also go face. And then you get to put something else into your hand. And you get to choose what it is. You know, I like that. It's kind of expensive, a little slow, but the fact that it lets you dig 2 cards deep could be really relevant, especially if you're going for like a lot of spells. You're trying to cast a spell into another spell because you're on 8 mana. You don't really care that this is 2 more than Lightning Strike. You just need another playable. This definitely scales into the late game way better. I like that. 3 mana, 2/2 flying. When it enters the battlefield, amass 1. Amass, you can see right here to the right of it. Put a +1/+1 counter on army you control. If you don't control one, create a 0/0 black zombie army creature token first. So you create an ever-growing army with amass. Just one token gets bigger and bigger and bigger the more you amass. There is a trick with a card in blue that you can make all your creatures army type, so you can put the 1/1 counters anywhere you want, but you can never create the zombie army creature token. Or if you have Divine Intervention, I think it is, the 5 mana enchantment, if you have no token out, it'll try to create a 0/0 token, and instead it'll just create a 4/4 angel. So that could be janky combo-ness, but it's not irrelevant. This card, nah. I like it, actually. You know, a 3 mana 2/2 flyer, not shit. With an amass 1, it's just not shit. But I don't see amass being in this. This is like a great limited card. I feel like amass is more of a control-y, just a control win condition. Because the really good amass cards are very expensive. You're not going to play 1 mana, 2 mana, 3 mana creature and then win with your 3 mana amass. There's faster ways to win in that way, and then it's so fragile. It's more like added value to your control cards, I feel. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature you control. That creature can't be blocked this turn. Pretty cool. Obviously, there's some very specific creatures you're going to want to put this on. 2 +1/+1 counters works with Proliferate, pretty well. There are some creatures you really do want to get in for combat damage. I don't think there's that many in this set, but there are some that when you get in for combat damage, draw a card. I'm sure there's other really crazy ones that I'm not thinking of right now. So super, super situational card. Sorcery speed, not that crazy powerful of an effect, but obviously some really good synergy with some specific cards. Not that good overall, but still it's a fun card. 3 mana, 3/2, Makeshift Battalion. Whenever Makeshift Battalion and at least 2 other creatures attack, put a +1/+1 counter on this. It's pretty terrible. Dies the shock. 3 mana dies the shock. You have to have a solid board state. Like, you would never play this over the 3 mana, 3/3 Anthem effect. You never play this over Venerated Loxodon. You would never play this over History of Benalia. It's a terrible card. Let's not talk about it. 5 mana, 4/4. Target creature can't block this turn. Good limited card. It could win you the game. As an additional cost to cast the spell, discard a card and amass 1. 3 mana, draw 2 cards, amass 1, discard a card. The only way this is ever good is if there's a card you really want to discard. If you're discarding something like Chemist's Insight, then why are you playing this and instead of just another Chemist's Insight? Something with Jumpstart ideally. It doesn't seem that good. Again, seems pretty, you know, it gives you a body. That's basically what that card is. As Devouring Helion enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice any number of creatures and or planeswalkers. If you do, it enters with twice that many +1/+1 counters. I mean, it's a 3 mana, you know, fat booty. It's a really weak version of that Hydra we saw earlier because this has to kill the things. An Aristocrats deck maybe can get away with it, but then you're sacrificing shit and then they have all your eggs in one basket. Usually not a good game plan. Obviously, again, if you have something like Rhythm of the Wild, you get it down, you could attack with it immediately, have an empty board. This could easily kill someone in one hit, but it feels pretty grand, you know, pie in the sky hopes. This thing is, if it resolves, it's gonna kill all your stuff and then they're gonna cast down it, right? You're gonna board wipe yourself. And then has to wait a turn to do anything. Not very good, but it obviously, you know, it's a fat load of stats. Oh, Niv Mizzet Reborn. You know what? I'll read this card and I'll let you tell me what it does. I don't know. 1 mana of every color, flying 6/6. When Niv Mizzet Reborn enters the battlefield, reveal the top 10 cards of your library. For each color pair, choose a card that's exactly those colors from among them, put the chosen cards into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. That's a Yu-Gi-Oh card. I don't fully understand what it does. We're just gonna ignore it. It's card drop. It's a 5 mana 6/6 flyer with card draw attached. Let's go start going through these a little bit quicker. We're already, I actually don't know how far into the video I am. I don't see my recording time. It doesn't matter. But we'll start going a little bit quicker. We're 3 packs in. Statues, spells your opponent control, cost 2 less to cast. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses a life. I love this card. I just love opponent loses life every turn. Puts them on a clock. Not particularly good, especially at Legendary. You don't even get to cast 2 of them. But spells your opponent's cast cost 2 more. This is a fun alternate win condition. I like this card, especially if you have like your artifacts have affinity for artifacts. You can just poop it on the field. Draw 2 cards if you control a Jace Planeswalker. Draw 3 cards. Very, very good limited card because sometimes it draws more. But it's just a divination. Turret Ogre, reached 4 mana, 4/3 reach. When it enters the battlefield, if you control another creature with 4 power or greater, deals 2 damage to each opponent. It's nice. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Burning Prophet gets +1/+0 until end of turn, then scry 1. Scry is not irrelevant. I don't think this is constructed because there's just better versions of this card already out there, but I could see some meme build arounds potentially. This card's not going to make it anywhere. It's, again, more limited. Good limited. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, then proliferate. I really like that. Proliferate's a very powerful effect. And this gives you 2 +1/+1 counters on whatever you cast it on, plus potentially extra everything else. You know, all the counters on everything. Yeah, I like that. God Eternal Bantu. All right. When God Eternal Bantu enters the battlefield, sacrifice any number of other permanents, then draw that many cards. So this is a huge payoff for wanting to sacrifice your own creatures. When it dies or is put into exile from the battlefield, you may put it in top of its owner's library, 3rd from the top. Okay, so a 5 mana, 5/6 menace is good. It's hard. It's good. It's gonna get in there for damage most of the time, and it's reoccurring most of the time if it ever, as long as it's resolving on the battlefield when it gets removed. Sacrifice, if you want to sacrifice 2 or 3 of your own creatures to draw, are drawing 3 cards, you know, 2 or 3 cards or whatever. Then you're potentially pinging them for damage if you're running that new vampire. This is a tough deck to build. Wanting to sacrifice your own creatures to draw cards is not unheard of, but you need a board set up ahead of time for this guy to be good. But you do get it's a pretty big payoff of a full refill, basically. I like that card. Definitely not the strongest of the guards. Way more situational than most, but good card. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. It gains first strike until the turn you gain 2 life. This is kind of like a reverse Moment of Craving. I kind of like this. It's not removal. It's a combat trick, making it worse than Moment of Craving in a lot of those early games. But you do have a 1/1. Becomes a 1 mana 1/1 whatever. It becomes a 2/2 lifelink. Or even if it's like a Healing Hawk. You know, your Healing Hawk gets a 2/2 and gains first strike. It gets to trade with something, or they try to block it, or they try to. I mean, I guess there's a removal would still die too, but gaining 2 life is what makes this card, I actually think, surprisingly good. First strike is pretty good. It just does. It's doing a lot for 2 mana at instant speed. I like it. Whenever trusted Pegasus attacks target attacking creature without flying, gains flying until end of turn. This is a typical limited, basically a bomb card. It's a win condition on its own. You get 2 flyers for the price of 1, basically. If they have flyers, it's not doing much, but it just wins you some games where you have it. Scry 4, then draw 2 cards. Damn. 4 mana, scry 4, then draw 2 cards. You're paying a 1 mana premium on the, divination. The scry 4. You could potentially see 6 cards with this. This is like, hey, I don't want land. 4 lands, go to the graveyard, whatever, throw all those lands. God, this is great. Wow, this card's fantastic. I think at 4 mana, it's probably a little bit... I think it's probably a little expensive for control, because you'd probably rather just be running something like Chemist's Insight, because you get to draw more cards out of it. I don't know. This is really good, though. This might make it into some decks of mine. I really like this card. Obviously, take this unlimited every time. 6 mana, 4/5. When it enters the battlefield, amass 2. 6 mana, 4/5. That creates a 2/2. Or, it's a 2/2 with haste if you already have a body out there. It gets +2 counters on that. Limited card. Great limited card, though. Don't underestimate 2 bodies for the price of 1. Planeswalker. Uncommon Planeswalker. I'm not sure if we saw any of those yet. Lots of Planeswalkers in this set. We're not guaranteed 1 a pack, I don't think, though. As long as it's your turn, creatures you control have first strike. I like that. Equip abilities you activate cost 1 less to activate. That's kind of terrible, but I love equipment. So this is definitely a build-around card for me, even though there's not much equipment in the set right now. This will make me think of a deck like that. Okay, 4 mana, 6 loyalty. That's a fuck ton. This card deals X damage to target tapped creature. That ability's fine. The issue is they see it. They see this ability. I don't know. I don't think this is great. But for 4 mana, shutting down decks that want to attack you, making your creature stronger. If you have equipment, it's helping you there. I don't know. It's going to be a build-around card for me. I don't think it's going to be very good. 3 mana, 2/3, my favorite creature of the set, even though I don't think it's particularly good. A 3 mana, black, Golgari colors, 2/3, Death Touch, Lifelink. Death Touch on a 2/3 is already decent. Lifelink is pretty good, and you can tap it at 1 mana of any color. This card just does so much. It's got 2 keywords and a dope-ass tap ability, and it's like reasonably statted for the mana cost. Not, it's understated, but the flavor of this card, the artwork, I fucking love this card. I really like it. It's a nightmare creature type, nightmare beast. It's terrifying. I don't think it's going to be very good, but that doesn't stop me from loving the card any less. All right. Role reversal. 2 blue, 1 red, sorcery. Exchange control of 2 target permanents that share a permanent type. So you get to target both permanents. You get to trade your Nahiri for their Teferi, right? You get to do whatever you get to take their best thing of something and give them your worst. I think this is pretty good. You get to make both targets. It's unlikely they're going to be able to do this back to you. I like this card is a constructed worthy card, I think. In the right matchups. You're not going to want it, because if you're control, you're not going to want it versus creature decks because you're running no creatures. If you're against another control deck, though, damn. The issue is you have to be running blue-red, which means it's probably going to go into Grixis, because it can't go into Esper. Esper's white-blue, white-blue-black. So the color combination is kind of the only bad thing about it, I think, is it's not going to fit into Esper, but it fits into Grixis, which is my favorite color combination, so. Yeah, I like that card's good. Let's keep moving. Let's get down to about 90, and I will probably start opening 10 at a time, just going for the rares. 5 mana, 4/5 trample, enters the battlefield, other creature control gain trample. Typical limited finisher, pretty good. When this card enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, okay. That's fucking terrible. Choose 1 or both. 2 mana. Okay. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Return target planeswalker card from your graveyard to your hand. That's 2 cards from your graveyard to your hand for 2 mana. That's like drawing 2 for 2. That's like a find, right? Without the finality. I like it. I'm not sure exactly how good it is. I would need to compare it to find, see the exact wording. I don't know what find can pull out. If find can pull out planeswalkers or not. Lifelink, a 1 mana 1/1 lifelink. When this card enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on it for each other creature you control named Charmed Stray. I'm sure there's some stupid fucking combo. But But yeah, this is a pie in the sky. It's never gonna be good card, but I love it. It's a beautiful cat. Look at how cute those kitties are. Whenever you cast a Planeswalker spell, you gain a life. Cool. 1 mana, tap it. At 2 mana of different colors, spend this mana only to cast Planeswalker spells. So this is a 4 of in any Super Friends deck. Bolus's Citadel. Talk about fucking 6 mana artifacts. Jesus. Look at the top card of your library at any time. Cool. You may play the top card of your library. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its converted mana cost rather than pay its mana cost. So it costs 0 to play CMC-wise. It costs life. Then sacrifice 10 non-land permanents. Each opponent loses 10 life. I don't know, man. Is that viable or is that just meme? I think it's just meme. But damn, that's fucking cool. I don't have that much to say about it. All right, let's just start going for the rares. I've been sitting here all flip-flopping day. We've already seen that one. Yeah, let's start open 10 at a time. Let's see what let's get the good shit here. Double Ugin. Enter the God Eater. All right, let's go here. Karn, Great Creator. Activated abilities of artifacts your opponent's control can't be activated. Okay. Of artifacts. That's kind of a lame static ability, but a 4 mana Planeswalker at 5 loyalty, it's not irrelevant. Until your next turn, up to 1 target non-creature artifact becomes an artifact creature with power and toughness equal to its converted mana cost. Okay. He makes artifacts into creatures temporarily. You know, your treasure map can attack. You want to do that, but your baubles, your 3 mana rocks can be 3/3s sometimes. That's cool. You may choose an artifact card you own from outside the game or in exile, reveal the card, put it into your hand. Okay, so this just lets you, Mastermind's Insight for artifacts. That's very powerful. 4 mana Mastermind's Insight, which is the same thing, but being able to do it a second time potentially. Yeah, I like that. Whenever a creature attacks you or a Planeswalker you control, each dragon you control deals 1 damage to that creature. 5 mana, 5 loyalty Planeswalker. That's pretty cool. Whenever a creature attacks. Yeah, I like it. It's pretty good against aggro, but it's 5 mana, so maybe it's not. Until end of turn, each Planeswalker you control becomes a 4/4 red dragon creature and gains flying. Fuck yeah. And -3, create a 4/4 dragon creature with flying. If this is your 5th Planeswalker, it won't be your 5th, but if it's your, if you have a 3 mana, a 4 mana, and you play this on 5, you're attacking with 2 4/4 dragons just with your Planeswalkers, and that's not counting using their abilities. Wow, that's pretty cool. That's a great Super Friends card. I don't know how actually good it is, but it's super fun. Ugin, double Ugin. Colorless spells you cast cost 2 less to cast. That includes things like Karn, obviously part of the artifact deck. Exile the top card of your library, face down and look at it. Create a 2/2 colorless spirit creature token. When that token leaves the battlefield, put the exiled card into your hand. Cool. It creates 2/2s that when they die, they give you, you draw them basically. Destroy target permanent that's 1 or more colors. That's good. Ugin's pretty great. Kind of expensive to get out there, but is doing a lot of work. I've talked about this card in a previous video. I quite like it. Ajani, the Great-Hearted. 4 mana, 5 loyalty Planeswalkers. Creatures you control have vigilance. You gain 3 life. Put a +1/+1 counter on creature and loyalty counter on each other Planeswalker you control. Fantastic. 4 mana, creatures have vigilance. Is not great, but it's cool. That's not irrelevant. +1 to gain 3 life. Damn, that's a lot of life. This is fantastic against aggro and against mid-range. They're gonna have a hard time killing you with this guy out there. Then his final ability, -2, put +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, and you put a loyalty counter on all your Planeswalkers, all the other Planeswalkers. I mean, this thing loves proliferate, right? It puts a counter on it, so it starts the proliferate train, and it pumps up, things like this, your other Planeswalkers with ultimates you want to go off. Now, these don't have ultimates, but you understand. Lots of fucking Planeswalkers, damn. Each opponent may cast spells only anytime they can cast a sorcery. Until your next turn, you may cast sorcery spells as though they had flash. Both those are fantastic. Each opponent can cast spells only anytime they can cast a sorcery. Yeah, fucking phenomenal, right? Good luck countering my stuff. That's like a Rhythm of the Wild effect immediately. Until your next turn, you may cast sorcery spells as though they had flash. So not only does your opponent not get to cast instants at instant speed, you're allowed to cast sorceries at instant speed and instants at instant speed. Okay. Very powerful. Holy shit. Return up to 1 target artifact, creature, or enchantment to its owner's hand and draw a card. This card's ridiculous in control matchups. Like, ridiculous. It does not do shit to aggro, though. If you play this on turn 3 against aggro, you've probably lost. Like, Mono Red just doesn't give a shit about that. What they can't... In response, they'll cast all their instants, and they'll cast all their instants on their turn. They don't care. Mobilize District 4 becomes a... it's a land. Taps are colorless. Tap 4 becomes a 3/3 citizen creature with vigilance until end of turn. It's still a land. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each legendary creature and planeswalker you control. Basically a free 3/3. I like that. That's a good card. Especially if you could use it for a 0 mana attack for 3 and use it in your second main phase for mana, right? Spells and abilities your opponents control can't cause you to discard cards or sacrifice permanents. That's so sad for my discard deck I'm making later today. Choose a non-land card name, then reveal the top 4 cards of your library. Put all cards with the chosen name from among them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. Return the targeted card from your graveyard to your hand. That's cool. This is actually really good. This works pretty good with that Jace that wants to mill yourself to win. Because obviously, revealing the top 4 cards of your library every turn, and Jace revealing like the top 3 cards, and then like you can mill yourself really damn quick with this and Jace. Not to mention if you're just targeting yourself with mill. Cool cards. What else we got? Oath of Kaya. This card I really like. 3 mana legendary enchantment, so you don't want to run 4 of them most of the time because you're only, you don't want any of them dead in your hand. When this card enters the battlefield, it deals 3 damage to any target. You gain 3 life. It's a 3 mana, 3-point removal, so it's 1 more than Lightning Strike at sorcery speed, which makes it terrible, but you gain 3 life, which redeems it, and that's only half the text. Whenever an opponent attacks a planeswalker you control with one or more creatures, it deals 2 damage to that player and you gain 2 life. So this thing is doing fantastic. It's giving you a lot of life. I love this card. Solar Blaze, 4 mana sorcery. Each creature deals damage to itself equal to its power. It's like hyper Justice Strike. Great board clear in Boros. Yeah, you absolutely, if you're running Clarion, you could run this instead. Potentially, it hits higher, but it doesn't hit as soon. Great board clear. There's not a whole lot of creatures that avoid it, but obviously we can see 2 right here that do. 5 mana 6/6. This is the Red God. Whenever this card attacks, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield, tapped and attack, and return that creature to your hand at the beginning of your next end step. This lets you play. Oh, look at his text is not even showing up all the way. Oh, you could scroll. That's funny. This card's nuts in the right deck. You're gonna play any creature in your hand for free. It means it's enter the battlefield effects trigger. Something like what's that stupid flash 4/3 flyer that when it comes into play, it bounces things and you get a scry. It does a lot. There's a lot of combos with this card. I don't know how standalone good it is. 5 mana 6/6 trample is like fine with reoccurring, but Land to Proliferate, good in the right deck. Mobilize District, commence the end game. I love this card. I already went over it in an earlier thing, but can't be countered. Draw a bunch, create a fat body at instant speed. Yes, please. This is why I think Amass is a better control mechanic, because this card is nuts. It creates like 6/6 at instant speed and draws you cards. Soul Diviner, remove a counter from artifact, creature, or land, or planeswalker you control. Draw a card. It's a 2 mana 2/3, so it blocks pretty well because it kills a lot of things. But also, I never found myself wanting to use the ability to remove counters and stuff. Interesting card. Not sure how good it actually is though. Whenever 1 or more loyalty counters are removed from Chandra, Fire Artisan, she deals that much damage to target opponent or planeswalker. That's pretty good. 4 mana, 4 loyalty. Whenever loyalty counters get removed, she deals damage to opponent or planeswalker. That's very powerful. +1, exile the top card of your library. You may play it this turn. So you exile the top card. It's kind of like a bad light up the stage, right? It's like a really bad light up the stage, but it's a +1 on it. It's not a minus, so it's like card advantage. And then she goes up to 5. And if they attack her to kill her, she's doing 5 damage to their face. You play it, she's at 4. You +1 her, they attack it for 5. They take it 5 damage face. That's 25% of their life off 4 mana. That feels really good. And if she ever gets to 7, exile the top 7 cards of your library. You may play this turn. It's instant like card advantage, and she deals 7 damage face. I really like that card. Yeah, I feel like this could fit in the mono red. Maybe it's a little expensive, but it's definitely a good sideboard. Maybe not main board, but even something like over Experimental Frenzy, I could see this working. It's not as crazy, but it's more probably consistent. Feather the Redeemed. 3 mana, 1 red, 2 white. Boros, flying 3/4 angel. I love angels, so I'm already keen to like this card. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets a creature you control, exile that card instead of putting it into your graveyard as it resolves. If you do, return it to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. Let me read that one more time. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets a creature you control, dope. Exile that card instead of putting it into your graveyard as it resolves. Okay. If you do, return it to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. This basically makes it so it's free to cast spells. Not free, like mana cost wise, but you cast Defiant Strike or whatever, give it +1/+0, draw a card. At the end of your turn, you get to return it back to your hand. Wow, and then then it's an instant if it's a combat trick, right? You could use it again on their turn to draw another card. I like that. Wow, this is cool. This card's nuts. This is a good build around card. It's a 3 mana, 3/4 flyer. Great stats with a great static ability. I'm gonna build around this. Let's start going a little bit faster. Hopefully we're getting more doubles now. We've seen God Eternal. Death Touch, 5 mana, 5/5. When it enters the battlefield, double the power of each other creature you control until end of turn. Those creatures gain vigilance until end of turn. Again, I'm thinking Rhythm of the Wild. If you have Rhythm of the Wild and you play like a Galta, you know, I don't know. You play this into a Galta, or you play Galta into this. I don't know. I don't know. This doesn't feel that good, but I mean, it's a 5 mana, 5/5 Death Touch. Nah, I think this is probably one of the weaker gods. There's probably a great combo with it, but it doesn't seem like you're gonna get that much value out of it. Maybe if you're playing mono green and, you know, they're stabilizing or something, but you could just absolutely blow them out on turn 5 with an unbelievable powerful drop. You know, you have a good, you go Silverleaf into, I don't know, like a Ferox, Nullhide or whatever, and then suddenly they're both, you know, it's a 10/10 and a 12/12 attacking. This could absolutely be, and you know what, I think this is actually, I take it back, I think this is probably pretty good. 5 mana, 2 colorless, 2 white, 1 blue. Return target creature you control to its owner's hand and destroy all creatures. I don't know what wants this. Niv Mizzet likes this card. You cast it, you get to draw a card, you get to ping something, you get to keep Niv Mizzet safe, you wipe the board, but how many decks do you want board clears and creatures? For 1 extra mana. I guess that if you're playing that new Teferi, you can cast it at instant speed. Becomes better. You know, I do like it. I do like it with Niv Mizzet, I'm thinking, but I can't think of what other creatures I really like it with. I made a deck based around these two guys, so you could watch that. Link is in the description, but it'll be also in my most recent videos. 2 red, 1 green, Living Twister, 2/5. What a cool stat line for a 3 mana creature. And it just looks cool. It feels cool. It's got 2 abilities. It's got cool mana cost. It's an elemental. I love this card. Again, just like the Leyline Prowler. I don't think it's very good, though. 2 mana, discard a land card. Living Twister deals 2 damage to any target. Return tap land you control to its owner's hand. It doesn't. It's cute. It's a cool card. I love it. I'm never going to play it, probably. I mean, I might play it, but I doubt it's going to be good. You're going to have... There's a land deck somewhere out there right now with another new Planeswalker, but I'm not impressed yet. 6 mana sorcery. Command the Dreadhorde. Choose any number of target creature and planeswalkers or planeswalker cards in graveyards. All graveyards. Command the Dreadhorde deals damage to you equal to the total converted mana cost of those cards. Put them into the battlefield under your control. Obviously, this is something they're going to do with like Gideon's Sacrifice, where all damage dealt to you is dealt to target sorcery or instant instead. Oh, my girlfriend's home. Hey, girlfriend. Is recording a video. I'll be done soon-ish. Will you make me a salad? Nice. Choose any number of target creatures and/or planeswalkers in graveyards. You're not gonna do this normally for 6 mana just to kill yourself. But every now and then, you know, you have the Gideon Sacrifice, you're paying 6 mana and taking no damage. You could take everything out of both graveyards, put it onto the field under your control. Definitely an insanely powerful play if you couple it with something that mitigates that downside. Each player chooses a creature or planeswalker they control, then sacrifices the rest. Players can't cast creatures or planeswalker spells until the end of your next turn. 5 mana, I would rather just have a board wipe. I'd rather run Elder Spell and like Cryocanarium or something, right? For the same mana cost. I guess it's 2 cards. I don't know. They get to choose their best thing. You get to choose your best thing, and it sticks. I guess if you have like a Teferi, you could choose your best thing, which is him, and then they could choose their best thing. Then you -3 to get rid of it, so it's like a board wipe. But I'm sure this card will catch me off guard sometimes. I'm not super impressed with it. All right, what else we got? More Teferis, more Ugins, Ral. Whenever you cast a instant or sorcery spell, deals 1 damage to target creature or an opponent. That's all right. It's like a bad gutter sniper. It's more like that wall. +2 to scry 1. +2 is a lot. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets with a copy. I don't know. I just like Thousand Year Storm. Thousand Year Storm's good. We've seen Dreadhorde Invasion. I have a deck about this. A recent video about this card. Another Teferi. Silent Submersible? I guess that's how you say it. 2 mana, 2/3. Whenever this deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, draw a card. It's a 2 mana, 2/3, crew 2. If it was just a 2 mana, 2/3, draw a card when it deals damage, that'd be good. The fact that it's crew 2 makes it sound weak and terrible. But it is an artifact, which means it could fit into the artifact deck. Potentially, even though it doesn't synergize with that. It's not colorless. What else we got? Single combat. Pig. Finale of Eternity. Destroy up to 3 target creatures with toughness X or less. If X is 10 or more, return all creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. How often is 10 going to be equal X or more? Destroy up to 3 target creatures with toughness X or less. I don't like it. If you can get it to 10, a deck built around it, it still doesn't seem that good. Massacre Girl, 5 mana, 4/4 menace. I like that stat line. When she enters the battlefield, each other creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Whenever a creature dies this turn, each creature other than Massacre Girl gets -1/-1. Seems like a pretty, potentially one-sided board wipe, but the best you can get, I guess it seems like a pretty decent board wipe. Especially against aggro, and even against some mid-range. Even if there's like a 1 or 2 gap, you could usually couple it with like a removal spell probably to get it. I like this card. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not that good, but I'm a fan of it because I like Defile and Hearthstone. 2 blue, instant. Copy target instant or sorcery spell, then return it to its owner's hand. You may choose new targets for the copy. It's weird. In a way, this is a counter, but it doesn't actually counter it because they get to keep the spell, but you get to use the effect of the spell first. And you get to choose new copies for it. Oh, that's pretty cool. A card definitely seems like it's valuable. Widespread Brutality, I highlighted this card earlier. Ignite the Beacon, search your library for the 2 Planeswalker cards, reveal them, put it into your hand, shelf of your library. That's cool. You know, draw 2 targeted cards for 5 mana at instant speed. Create X 2/2 soldiers if tokens with vigilance. If X is 10 or more, also create X 4/4 white angel creature tokens with flying and vigilance. So if X equals 10 or more, you get 40/40 over 10 bodies of angels, and you get 20/20 of body, and so it's 60/60 worth of bodies over 20 bodies. That's like ridiculous. That's just fun. The idea of that's fun to think about. But what are you actually going to do it for 4 mana? That's at 6 mana. You're going to create 4 2/2s. I don't know. 4 2/2s. That's starting to look kind of good. I guess it's very flexible. If you put it in some sort of mid-rangey, maybe in a soldier deck, it's just like you have 1 or 2 of them as like your end game in case you get flooded. You can turn that into some value, or, you know, not value, but tempo, basically. They all died at Cryocanarium, though, which is terrible. Every sweeper in the game kills all of them. But, you know, it's a flexible card. All right, we've seen all this. Ravnica Ward, exile all multicolored permanents. Very meta reliant card. Kills most of the planeswalkers, but not all of them. Spark Double. You may have Spark Double enter the battlefield as a copy of a creature or planeswalker you control, except it enters with an additional +1/+1 counter if it's a creature, an additional loyalty counter if it's a planeswalker, and it isn't legendary if it's legendary. So you could have 2 of any planeswalker you want. That's phenomenal. And it comes out with more loyalty, which I'm sure allows for some shenanigans. Double Strike, whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 4/4 black zombie warrior creature token with vigilance. Wow, that is nuts. And it's a 3/6 double strike for 5. Whenever you cast a creature spell, man, this thing is crazy. It's obviously probably the best card in Limited in the entire set. But this is 100% constructed worthy. 5 mana is a little expensive, but a 5 mana 3/6 double strike that creates 4/4s and it returns itself, you know, into your deck. Wow, that card's good. That's very good. Play that card. Plane-wide Celebration, 7 mana, choose 4. You may choose any one of them more than once. Create a 2/2, so you can create 4 2/2s. Return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. You could return 4 cards to your hand. Proliferate up to 4 times in 1 card is good, even though it's super expensive. Or you gain 4 life. The fact that you could like return 2 cards from your graveyard to your hand, gain 4 life, and then proliferate, that's a highly flexible card, but 7 mana is a lot, and none of the effects are that powerful on their own. But cards that have hyper flexibility means it's always going to find a time where it's useful. Sometimes 4 2/2s can win you the game, and other times it's getting 4 cards, it's like drawing 4 cards from your graveyard could be good. Other times proliferate, yeah. I like this card. It feels clunky, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's like really good. Liliana. All right, here's a few new cards. I highlighted this guy before. This Jace is pretty cool. 4 mana, 4 loyalty. If you would draw a card while your library has no cards, instead of losing the game, you win the game. If they, like, the thing is, they wait for you to about to mill yourself, and they just Vraska's Contempt this, right, and you lose, but it's really cool. I guess if it's on the stack, you'd have to do it in response to the trigger of the ability before his win ability goes on the stack, I think. Because it doesn't matter if he's in play, because the ability triggers. So, anyway, it's a meme card for sure, but it's a really cool, I'll build a deck around it at some point for sure. Liliana, Dreadhorde General, 6 mana, 6 loyalty. Whenever a creature control dies, draw a card. That's insane amounts of value right there. Create a 2/2 black zombie creature token for a +1. That's very good, historically good. Doesn't have menace like that Vraska 6, but still, I think it's Vraska 5 actually. Each player sacrifices 2 creatures. That is disgustingly powerful if this comes down on 6. -9. Each opponent chooses a permanent they control of each permanent type and sacrifices the rest. That includes lands. Yeah, this card's pretty nuts. This card's really good. Yeah, this is definitely worth running. One of the more powerful planeswalkers for sure. I wasn't impressed when I first read it, but every one of its abilities is very relevant. Every line of text is super good. Nicol Bolas, this could probably be my first build around card. Nicol Bolas has all loyalty abilities of all other planeswalkers on the battlefield. That includes your opponents. His abilities themselves are not as interesting. It's mostly that first line of text that's super good. Draw a card. Each opponent exiles a card from their hand or permanent they control. It's just draw a card, basically. The other effect is almost non-existent most of the time. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. It's cool. I mean, you wouldn't spend a 5 mana to do that ability, but the fact that you can do that is nice. Each opponent who doesn't control a legendary creature or planeswalker loses the game. So if you have a way to instantly get up to this, like, you know, you do this in Elder Spell, you sacrifice your planeswalkers, you get a -8 in the same turn. It could just be a 1-turn win. Overall, great win condition, great passive, very flexible card. I love this card. This is going to be a good build around card, especially when you're starting to create multiple of them. Gideon Blackblade, 3 mana, 4 loyalty. As long as it's your turn, it's a 4/4 human soldier with indestructible. That's still a planeswalker, and you prevent all damage that would be dealt to Gideon during your turn. This is a 3 mana 4/4 and like insane creature. This is really good. And when you play it, it's not even dead, even though he can't attack that turn, because it gives another one of your creatures vigilance, indestructible, or lifelink, which means vigilance usually means it can defend himself, right? Even though he's not a creature on your opponent's turn, they can attack into him. Giving something vigilance is relevant. And -6, exile target non-land permanent. That's okay. You might use it once, sometimes, but never on 6. You definitely want this guy swinging in, just getting damaging. Gideon Blackblade, very, very good in a mono-white, just aggro deck. Definitely, maybe not a 4 of, but definitely like a 3 of. When this card enters the battlefield, create Friend to Elves, a legendary 3/3 green and white wolf creature token. So it's 5 mana, 6/6 over 2 bodies, 2 3/3s. Whenever a wolf enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 3 life, and that creature fights up the... Okay, so you get to gain 3 life as well, and your 3/3 gets to attack something. That's doing quite a bit. That card's pretty good. And Selesnya is probably good too, because it creates 2 bodies, and Selesnya likes tokens. 5 mana, semi-removal, semi-heal, 2 bodies. It does a lot. I like it. It works good with a Johnny as well. Because, you know, it's 2 bodies for them to buff. Domri, creatures you control get +1/+0. Very good. It's just a nice Anthem effect. It's like Judith. And it's a mana ramp. It adds spells. Sorry, it adds red or green, and your creature spells can't be countered this turn. It's not just where the mana is spent. Or you can -2, target creature you control, fights target creature you don't control. It has a great Anthem ability. It has a mana ramp ability that helps you beat control, and it has a -2 that is removal, basically, as long as your creatures are bigger. Fantastic Planeswalker. Domri got way better in this set. We've seen all of these. No, Nissa. We haven't seen this one. This one seems fucking absurd. 5 mana, 5 loyalty. Whenever you tap a forest for mana, add an additional green, which means you could tap one of the rare lands that is a forest, like plains or whatever, and you could add the plains, and this will add a green in addition to it. It'll create both kinds of mana. Put 3 +1/+1 counters on a land you control. Untap it. It becomes a 0/0. It untaps it. Then it becomes a 3/3 vigilance and haste. That's still a land, and it never goes away. And you can make one land bigger and bigger, or you can make more and more bodies. That's a +1. And you get double mana. That's a lot. You're getting a lot out of this for 5 mana. Especially because even if you pay 5 and player, you get to untap one of your lands with a +1, so then you have 2 more mana. So she gives you 2 mana on the turn, so you could even keep something up to protect her potentially. And you have the 3/3 creature. You get it -8 though. You get an emblem with lands you control have indestructible. Search your library for any number of forest cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. Not an instant win, but indestructible lands. Being able to make them all into creatures to attack could be cool. Settle the Wreckage will fuck you, because they'll exile them all and you'll have no lands and you instantly lose. But a lot of times that can just win you the game. It's infinite, you know, it's all the lands in your deck, so every draw you have is phenomenal. All your lands are indestructible, so they can't be destroyed. And there's ways to make them into creatures if you're running this, probably. Man, this Nissa is fucking... Nissan is fucking ridiculous. All right, I think we've seen all of these. Another Feathered the Redeemed. Here's one I haven't seen. 5 mana, 4/5 fly and trample. When this card enters the battlefield, put 2 +1/+1 counters on another target creature you control. When this dies, proliferate, then proliferate again. Well, that's really cool. 2 +1/+1 counters is cool because it actually impacts the battlefield immediately. It can make something that can attack relevant. You know, something that was too small before, big enough to actually attack again or to block. And when it dies, you get double proliferate for 5 mana, 4/5 fly and trample. Yeah, because they don't want to remove it. This is a great card. It's not as like game breaking, just instant win. It's not like a Niv Mizzet where you just win the game when you play it, but it's definitely doing a lot for what you're paying. Even if you play like a legendary version of it, you don't even care. Like if it's legendary, you play a second one, you remove the one, and because it dies, you have to sacrifice it, and then you get to proliferate twice. I think that's how the legendary rule works. This is a great card. All right, let's speed through these last 7 packs. Boink. Seen it. See if we get any more, how many more mythics we get. Single combat, seen it. Ooh, this is the best. This is any rare that I want in the entire set, girlfriend. She's excited. She knows what's up. I feel like that's got to be 4 widespread brutalities at this point. Ah, Flood the Lost. We got him. That card lets you draw cards if you play from the... It's an interesting card. Ral Storm in our last pack. Another Liliana. I think that's a full 4. All right, let's take a look here. I didn't have very many commons, uncommons, rares, mythics before, but we're at 59 common, 55 uncommon, 20 rare, 8 mythic wild cards. Let's take a look. I had 0 cards before this of the new set. Collected, not collected, War of the Spark. So we can take a look here from 108 packs, 104 packs. Still quite a few like uncommons we don't have very many of. We're probably going to craft the full set of uncommons. Several rares we still don't have, which isn't surprising. We'll get to the full set over the course because we get a few packs a day just from playing. Some of these are Planeswalker cards that we can't get. Let's zoom out here. Just kind of show you guys what I got. You could pause if you want to look to see. Overall, I think it's a pretty good haul. Great start on the set. We don't have the full set, but we could craft anything we want, basically. Obviously, we have to be careful with the mythics if I don't want to just craft random mythics, but there's a lot of shitty mythics, which is fine. Awesome. Guys, that's going to do it for today. Kind of a long video, kind of a weird one, just doing pack openings, but I hope you enjoyed it. These are the cards I'm going to be using to make decks with, so look forward to that in the coming up days. If you want to see me play any of these decks live, you can check me out on Twitch. I'm live Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And that's going to do it for me. Peace out, friends.